Did you know that many plants can actually clone themselves through offshoots? This means that you can create an entirely new plant that is genetically identical to the original one. It's a way to expand your collection without breaking the bank. If you're tired of waiting forever for your plants to grow, let me introduce you to offshoots, my friends. They are a plant parent's shortcut to success. Plus, they're tough as nails and really reliable. They're basically a mini version of your original plant, but the nice thing is you don't have to deal with like the vulnerable seedings aspect of it, waiting for those things to grow. This plant is guaranteed. Not only guaranteed, but you will enjoy faster growth and fewer problems. It's like starting with a prince knowing that one day it will become a king, just like I'm doing with my king anthurium over here, growing a brand new little baby from this mature plant. And man, oh man, is it interesting. And the good news is I did a ton of research for you folks because quite frankly, I didn't even realize that this was growing in until about a week ago. But here's the thing, I've seen pups and offshoots grow in like my alocasia, my bird of paradise. But quite frankly, this really caught me by surprise. In fact, I almost cut it off because I thought it was a flower growing in on my king anthurium, which happens every so often. And I usually cut them off because those flowers take away energy from new leaf growth. So I'm really glad that I didn't. Because let's be honest, I mean, this little guy over here is a super cutie, and I'm really excited to see it grow. But here's what we're going to cover in this episode because I want to make sure that you guys are set up for success and knowing how to deal with offshoots and turn them into new plants. So, for starters, we are going to go over the different types of offshoots and how to identify them. Then I'm going to set you up for success by telling you how to enhance their growth and health. And finally, we're going to talk about propagation, the successful ways that you can make sure that that baby becomes a brand new plant for you. By the end of this video, you will be equipped with the knowledge and confidence to grow your own offshoots and increase your plant collection. But first, let's start with identifying different types of offshoots. Now, I'm going to touch base on a couple genus, but I really want to shine the spotlight for a moment on anthuriums, specifically my king anthurium, the Anthurium veitchii. Initially, when I saw something growing out of the side a little over a week ago, like I told you, almost snipped it off. But turns out king anthurium can produce new plants from its root system. This is more common in mature plants, and there are three ways it typically happens: offshoots or pups. King anthuriums may grow offshoots or pups from the base of the plant. These are essentially clones of the parent plant, developing their own roots over time. Then you have adventitious roots. If your king anthurium is growing in sphagnum moss or loose soil, its aerial roots may extend into the medium and form new growth points, potentially sprouting a new stem or plant. I believe this is exactly what's happening with my king anthurium because I have seen roots, those aerial roots, kind of just growing along the sphagnum moss, and that's really where the new plant is growing out of. And third, you have division potential. Now, in some cases, what looks like a new plant might actually be a growth point that has split from the main stem, which can later be divided into a separate plant. Now let's shift over to Strelitzia, the bird of paradise. The baby pup growing on your bird of paradise is likely a new shoot or offset. These are new plants that grow from the base of the mature plant. They're a common way for bird paradise plants to propagate themselves. With alocasia, the baby pup growing in is simply a new plantlet that has sprouted from the rhizome of the parent plant. Alocasias often produce these offsets known as corms. They look like little acorns, actually. I like plucking them out when I'm repotting my alocasia, and I typically find about 6 to 10 buried in their soil when I am doing so. I like to grow them in moist sphagnum moss. In fact, I can give you a good example of a little corm here on this alocasia. It is actually growing out of the side, and what I'm going to do is just twist it off, and this baby looks like a little acorn. And what you do is you just kind of, you'll notice that there's kind of like a harder edge on the backside, and you just kind of like take your nail and just kind of slightly take that part off, put it in sphagnum moss, and make sure the sphagnum moss is moist, and this will eventually grow into a new plant. I've done it so many times, and it's really easy to do. But hey, before we continue on, I want to tell you guys and ask you guys for a little quick favor. If you wouldn't mind, just quickly, if you're enjoying this content and the education behind it, just slightly like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell because it really allows me to create more fun and interesting planty content like this with you guys. And I so appreciate when you guys do that. And speaking of appreciating, I also appreciate your guys' comments in my community poll, which brings me to my next YouTube community poll on my YouTube channel. And in it, I asked you folks a very simple question. I was curious, have any plants in your collection grown any pups or offshoots? A couple dozen of you voted, and 92% of you said yes, 4% maybe, and 4% no. Tied between maybe and no, but 92% yes. When you look at the comments, I have to agree with Nikki Rains. My silver dragon has also been insane pup producers. They like come out like crazy. Kim Gomez says, I get lots of snake plant pups in soil, but I pluck them and put them in leca. She is slowly transitioning everything to leca. It's the only way this overwater can keep them alive. I hear a lot of people saying that. I still have yet to have good luck with leca. Please keep those comments coming because I love reading them, and the moment I see them appear in my notifications, I respond to them immediately. But I do want to continue on because we need to talk about supporting growth, right? I mean, once you have a pup that is growing, how do you make sure that it is set up for success? Not only the new plant, but also your mature plant, the mother plant, have you? And for that, though, we have to pick this baby up and head into the kitchen over there. All right, so in order to make sure that this new plant growing in, as well as the current plant that it's growing in from, both stay healthy, is that I don't even know where to put this thing, is that we have to make sure that we are feeding this baby, because not only does it need, the mother plant need watering, but so does this one as well. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm a mess. But this is what it's like caring for so many plants. The big baby like this. So what we're going to do, guys, is not only water this mother plant. We're going to have space in the kitchen right now. And disculpeme for the fact that the kitchen's kind of a mess right now. I'm going to put this I think set it up hither, like so. And yeah, wow, that wasn't tough, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to water and feed it. But I want to tell you exactly what I'm going to feed it with because, it's really important. So look over here, simply because there's really no room over there. And I want you guys to understand what I'm about to do. So like I was saying, not only do we have to water the plant, but we need to feed it. And yes, I understand that this is the off season. When you typically would feed your plants in the spring and summertime. But the fact of the matter is, guys, I feed a lot of my plants, especially my anthurium and my alocasia, year-round. But during the fall and winter months, I do cut back on their feeding. So what we're going to feed them, and I mix it in with their water here. This used to be a simply orange juice, but now it is water and, my friends, fish poop. That's right, fish poop, fish fertilizer, and that is what I feed my plants. Anthurium, alocasia, absolutely love it. They need to be fed so much because they're constantly growing. In a situation like this, where we have a little pup plant here, as well as the big mother plant, we have to make sure that we are feeding it quite a bit, because not only do we have to maintain the health of the actual large plant itself, but we need to remember there's a little baby plant that's growing out of here that's going to be a new plant as well. So what I like to go with, and not just with my alocation, my anthurium, but like my philodendron, my monstera, a lot of my aroid plants, Araceae family of plants that fall under it, like my pothos, etc. I feed them Alaska Fish Fertilizer 511. And what I do, especially during kind of like the off months now, is that I'll fill up a, what is this, a 2.6 liter bottle of water. And in the off season, I'll just put a little drop in there, just make it a little bit murky, a little bit more in the spring, and especially in the summertime when you need to feed them more. And so, why I go with fish fertilizer is because it's natural and plants love it. So, with a brand like this, and it doesn't matter which brand you go with, I just choose this because it's like $15 a bottle, and this will last me, gosh, probably like 6 months. It is great for all indoor and outdoor plants. It is made naturally from fish and it doesn't have chemicals in it. So that means it won't burn your plants, which is very, very important because when you use a fertilizer that is like chemically made, those chemicals can really be harsh to your plants. I do notice this though, and I stopped feeding my pothos, my epiprenum during the off months because, gosh, it was last fall or last winter of 2023 when I went to go give them some of the fish fertilizer, just a little bit. But I noticed that their leaves on the side were getting really like darker, not a burn, but you could tell that they weren't liking it. So I cut back all the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply water with this fish manure over the sphagnum moss that I placed on top of it, and as simple as that. And the thing is, guys, with especially Anthurium and with one as large as this, you need to constantly be feeding them and watering them, really, as long as you make sure you have like a good setup where there's good airflow and all that stuff, because these plants like to eat a lot. And keep in mind, too, is that when you look at an Anthurium's root system, I mean, they are thick, thick roots. And even if you look at like my smaller Anthurium, take a look right now, and this is an Anthurium clarinervium, and it's a smaller plant, one of the easier to care for Anthurium, really. But just take a look at how thick those roots are on a smaller Anthurium. And gosh, when I was repotting this baby here into this larger pot, its roots were so thick. I mean, like thicker probably than my fingers are. And my gosh, here's the thing too. Um, you will read a lot of different things online about whether or not you should repot an anthurium because they like to be in smaller pots and they like to continue to be root bound and all that stuff. And gosh, I go back and forth about this because, yes, while that is true, while many of them do like being in smaller pots, I stumbled upon this video on YouTube, oh gosh, a little over a year ago, and I'm going to link it up here. And it was fascinating to me because this fella and his wife have really, really beautiful, beautiful anthurium, the way that I want this one to look. And they had such long, gorgeous, extravagant leaves. And one of the things that I learned from his video was he said, if you want bigger leaves and you want your anthurium to just grow really large, you have to increase its pot size, which went against everything that I had read. So I decided to do what he was saying, and I repotted this into a larger pot. And mind you, I mean, this isn't like a huge, huge pot, but the moment I did, all of a sudden, the leaves on my anthurium, as they grew new ones, oh my gosh, did they start becoming this size? And I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it happened so quickly. I was blown away by it. But it wasn't just increasing the pot size; it is using like fish fertilizer. And my buddy Todd, who owns the Bronze Petal here in Denver, he had told me probably about 2 years ago, and not just with anthurium, but just pretty much like any plant that falls under the Araceae family, like I was saying, your philodendron, your alocasia, your monstera, etc., that if you really want them to get big leaves, uh, feed them fish poop. And so I was like, wait, what? And so I started doing it, and man, oh man, he was right. And it wasn't just something that happened like over a short period of time; it happened instantly. And so, because of that, I mean, I have leaves now that are 30 inches long on this baby. And when you look at my Monstera Thai constellation, the leaves on that plant, I mean, it went from being such a small plant to this gigantically beautiful leafed, gorgeous, stunning monstera. And I honestly just think it really had to do with fish poop, and humidity. Those two things combined together really, really made a huge difference. And mind you, growing all these plants for the last couple of years in just western facing windows. So it's not like the best light, you know. Granted, grow lights, but grow lights can only do so much. So really, fish poop and humidity were the two things. So boy, now that this baby is watered, it's going to be adventure getting him back over there. Back from the kitchen and on to propagation. By the way, my lower back really does not enjoy those adventures back and forth, you know? So, okay, with propagation, let's talk about the king anthurium here because it's an interesting process. You can separate a king anthurium offshoot or pup once it has developed its own independent root system and is sturdy enough to survive on its own. Here's how to determine the right time. When it comes to separating the offshoot, leaf development is a number one big factor. Wait until the offshoot has at least 2 to 3 mature leaves. The leaves should look healthy and strong, indicating the plant has started photosynthesizing effectively. Gently check around the base of the offshoot also to see if it has its own roots. These roots should be thick, white, and at least a few inches long. Now, when it comes to the size of the offshoot, ideally, the offshoot should be a few inches tall, like around 4 to 6 inches for a king anthurium, and also look proportional to the size of the parent plant. Parent plant health is also a key factor. You want to ensure the parent plant is healthy and not showing signs of stress like yellowing leaves or slowed growth. A stressed parent plant might struggle to recover from separation. When it comes to separating an anthurium offshoot, you will want to prepare your tools. Use clean, sharp scissors or a knife to minimize damage and prevent infection. Loosen the soil or moss, whatever you have in. You'll want to carefully loosen the medium around the offshoot and parent plant to expose the roots. And when it comes to separating the offshoot, identify where the offshoot is connected to the parent plant. Use your tool to make a clean cut, ensuring the offshoot has enough roots to sustain itself. Back to the king here, let's recap what triggers new growth. And number one is climbing behavior. As the plant grows, its natural climbing habit may result in new growth points at the base or from nodes that touch the growing medium. Number two, when a king anthurium reaches its mature size, it may redirect energy into reproducing by creating offshoots. And number three, this is a really interesting one, division stimulus. If the plant is repotted or slightly disturbed, like minor root pruning, it may encourage new growth from dormant nodes. And that makes me wonder, like when I repotted my king, this big one behind me, back on May 25th of 2024 into a slightly larger pot, whether or not, because I only slightly disturbed its roots by gently loosening it up at the bottom from its current potting medium so it could crawl more easily through the additional mix I gave it, I wonder if that's really kind of like what triggered it, but who knows? I mean, really, the only one who would know, right, is the plant, and clearly it's not talking. But, if you follow these simple steps, it will really lead to success. And the nice thing is that it is literally a genetic clone of your current plant. So how cool is that? And I also was wondering, like, eventually, like when this baby becomes as large as this one here, with this latest leaf being now what 31 and a half inches and still growing, I'm probably going to need more space, because oh man, that's going to be crazy. But hey, again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching another one of my planting videos. And again, if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick moment to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell for more fun and interesting planting content just like this. And speaking of interesting too, like if you like this video about creating an offshoot, you'll want to check out this video that I did on Philodendron Dean McDowell. It was a repotted chat, and in it I go over like a lot of the propagation methods, like water propagation, and this baby roots fast. I mean, like super fast. So check it out. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.